Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a capsule selection. Today we are going to dive into an assortment of fragrances that go off great in the fall season. This is autumn wear appropriate, and this is bringing out the sexy savage in us all. This is actually what I would like to term sexy savage, because this is the type of fragrance and style that I'm going to get in this list for you that really brings out the art of sex appeal. So for me, I'm going to introduce to you 10 fragrances that really go off in that realm of identifiers that really come off sexy. So if this sounds like the type of content you think you'll enjoy, pull up a seat, pour a glass, and of course, let's enhance. Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the Dry Down, the lifestyle channel where we as enthusiasts aspire to enhance and elevate our olfactive sensory experiences through the understanding of the different aromas, facets, and nuance of scent, cigars, and wine. I am your host, Chris. Welcome to today's experience. We are definitely going to dive into a great assortment of fragrances today. I have a list for you that I'm going to affectionately call the Sexy Savage Capsule. This is the autumn edit for that particular style of fragrance, and today I want to introduce you to one in the beginning, and after that you're going to see exactly how these fragrances flow on the skin, how they come off, how the projection sillage goes, and actually what that scent profile will do for you in your autumn wear. So first off, what we're going to dive into is, ladies and gentlemen, the first fragrance we are going to dive into on this list is B683. B683 is the predecessor to Ganymede, has a lot of the same similar, if not something of a flanker Ganymede being coming from B683. B683 is a very sexy, sensual, leather-based fragrance that has a lot of Sisters labdanum in it. And you know how Sisters labdanum can go, it's that very sexy, warm, spicy accord. So if you want to talk about a hallmark that really gives a sexy identifier to a fragrance, it has a lot of complex qualities about it, very sensual, very sexy, full of amber, Peru balsam, black pepper, ambergris, a lot of saffron, very sexy and sensual, has a lot of the elemental accords of Ganymede in it, but just a little bit softer, more sensual, not as overtly aggressive, I would say, as Ganymede. A little bit softer, more tame in the leather accord, very sensual, very sexy, has some ambergris in this one as well. It's very, very nice. The creme de la creme of soft suede style of woody, spicy leathers. To me, this is one great fragrance done by master perfumer Quentin Biche. Classic ambery, woody take. Like I said, very powerfully complex in its quality and nature. And the calling card, the identifier of this one is the Sisters labdanum along with the amber and the woody tones. This is a very good fragrance for all of us to wear. Very, very sexy. I must say, I'm enthralled with it right now, spraying off the strip. It has a like honey-like nuance to it as well. The saffron goes off extraordinary. I think that anybody on this, if this list has started out like this, I know I got some bangers to come. So B683 by the house of Marc Antoine Barrois. It's a very sensual, leathery fragrance, suede in its leather, not the animalic style, very suede, ambery takes with black pepper, saffron, and ambergris. It's almost like the signature for this one will be those actual accords. Very nicely done. Very nicely done. B683, Marc Antoine Barrois. Next up on the list, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about and discuss the fragrance by the house of Clive Christian. This is Blonde Amber. Blonde Amber, man, this is one that really, really smells great. This is a fresh take, to me, a fresh live floral take on tobacco. Very sweet, very seductive. Chypre style of fragrance, floral touches to it. They did a phenomenal job in according this particular scent. The actual hallmark for this one that is tobacco. A very sweet, hay-like tobacco, warm, caressing, charismatic, very sensual, very sexy. It has that tonka bean type of sweetness with a little silkiness and richness to the accords that follow it with the tonka bean and iris inside of it. Very, very nicely done fragrance. A lot of beautiful accorded bitter oranges at the top of this one. That very polished way that Clive Christian can do fragrances, and this one smells so phenomenal when it's being unfurled and coming across as evolving fragrance on your skin. Great projection, great sillage, very sensual and sexy blonde tobacco fragrance. Like I said, slightly hay-like, but the amber accord and the tobacco are the hallmark for this one. That tonka bean sweetness, just very, very well made. A little incense and cedar wood is in this one as well. A nice ginger touch pops off the skin at the mid. Even a little rum and vanilla in this to call out that sweetness with that little boozy accord to it. Top 10 fragrance out of the house of Clive Christian to me. And I do have a nice little collection of Clive Christian, and I could say that all of them, I would say this is maybe about the top 5 when I look at my references in my Clive Christian collection. A very sensual scent. That accord of tobacco is one of the best out in the last few years. The way they presented this with that amber and the mandarin, a very, very, very seductive fragrance. I think all you should get your nose on. Blonde Amber, Clive Christian. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, what we have here, this is Elborne by the House of Carner Barcelona. This is one I think is one of the biggest sleepers in all of Fragcom. If you are a fragrance connoisseur, a fragrance collector, anyone who calls themselves a actual aficionado of this particular game, you have to get your nose on Elborne. If you look at any of fragrances that have been talked about as a fragrance that every single person has talked about it being a great fragrance, no one can identify this one as being a bad fragrance. Every person that has reviewed this fragrance, and I looked to see what people were thinking when I first bought this, every single person had the exact same thing. This is a bewitching fragrance that is so silky smooth, sweet, green, honey-like. You know, Sisters Lavender is in this one. A lot of benzoin, sweet white musk, just a grand Madagascar vanilla honey. This is a phenomenally well done take on the honey accords along with the lavender balsamic accord. It's slightly herbaceous, slightly it emits this greenness that is so intriguing and so interesting that follows or is followed up by the honey, musk, and the Sisters Lavender with that sweet, seductive Grand Soir style of benzoin in this one. It is a nose killer, so sexy, so seductive, so alluring. This is one, when I say this is one that you all have to get your nose on to appreciate how beautiful and just seductive and sexy this sweet smelling concoction can come off from your skin. It's nothing that's overtly sweet. You know I don't like those overtly sweet gourmands that go too high in the sweetness. This one sits just firmly inside of the seductive lounge night, date night, lover's night, everything you want to come into contact with your opposite sex and be presentable as a polished, sexy person. Elborne is that particular fragrance. Like I said, it emits a great, unique nuance of green angelica, honey, benzoin, Sisters Lavender, a little bit of lemon and fig are the opening cards with that greenness of angelica. Phenomenally composed, niche fragrance at a great price point. I know if you blind by this, you will appreciate what it smells like. I'm telling you, a great fragrance, just sexy, very effective in the realm of being in the art of sex appeal. Elborne by the House of Carner Barcelona. Ladies and gentlemen, what I have up next for you here is one of the darlings of my collection. If you're a fan of immaculately fragrances, you'll know how exceptional her blends are. She has a very unique take on simplicity while still being constructed with complexity. This is Oud Oud Wood, one of my favorite wood tones inside of fragrances. This smoky, sweet, balsamic, woody, slightly powdery, has a rose-like nuance to it. It's an excellent fixative that goes in between smoky, leathery nuances while still bringing in soft, warm cedar woods and roses and things like that. So what she did with this one, she built this off one of the most excellently made bergamot accords for a deep and depthful woody fragrance. Now, when you spray this on, you're going to be pleasantly surprised by that bergamot because it comes on bright, comes on as an undertaking of just effervescence, and then it goes straight into a clove veiled by that bergamot with a little bit of sweet white jasmine hedoin, that central accord of hedoin. Then the base is full of guaiac wood, vanilla, amber, and vetiver. So it's a woody fragrance that has these vanilla takes and touches to make the hallmark of this fragrance a warm, seductive, cozy fragrance with a bright, effervescent opening. So it's this juxtaposition that the fragrance plays on itself, and the complexity of that, those nuances and facets, the way they're working together with the cool and warmness of those particular nuances, bright and dark. It's a very, very well composed fragrance, and I know sensually it comes off well. Now this is my vintage bottle of this one. I don't know, you can't find this one anywhere on the market right now. They do have these square bottles out, but this one, when I first got into the niche game and I was learning about certain fragrances, and I traveled to New York and I went to Min, New York, and I picked this up there, was very, very, very happy with the way the scent came off, and bought this as a backup bottle. And now it's time to break this one out for this fall because the other bottle is gone. Phenomenal woody balsamic facets to a great scent, great depth, very airy, smoky, and that bergamot. When you spray it on, you just get addicted to the bergamot in this one. Once again, Gaiac, sexy, smooth, seductive, smooth operator. Turn on Sade, go for it. Gaiac, immaculately, great fragrance. Like I said, turn on Sade with this one. Next up, guys, what I have here for you, one of the love of my life when it comes to this perfumery in the fall game especially, this is the scent Grand Soir by the House of Mason Francis Kirkjohn. I'm gonna give it a small spritz because I hate wasting this juice because it's so valuable to me. But overall, what you get, the hallmark of this one, that very beautiful done, just Siam benzoin, man, the Laotian Siam benzoin. This is by far one of the most seductive fragrances on the market. No matter how much I try to get away from this fragrance, no matter how much I try to put it back on my shelf and go toward other things in my collection when it comes to date nights and sensual encounters, I always end up going back to Grand Soir as one of my top 5 in the category. Beautifully done benzoin, sweet seductive vanilla and tonka bean over a nice suede leathery balsamic smoky citrus lavender. You cannot go wrong with this particular scent, man. It is a signature scent for anyone's evening wear, especially masculine skin. This one here is everything you want when you walk into a room to call and just cultivate the actual association of being sexy. Anyone around you, everyone around you is going to know that you smelling great, and they're going to compliment and come towards you and seek your entertainment. And when you get them locked down in that type of environment, you're going to go off well. Just one of the best fragrances to come out in the last 10 years in my opinion. I can go on waxing poetic about this distinctly rich, sweet, woody fragrance, but this is just a phenomenal scent. Caramel, slightly almondy touches. Even has some woody type of, not so much of a coffee essence, but that effect of what coffee does in the fragrance, that warming feel with that sweet tonality, but still being earthy. Everything comes out of this with like these tones of fullness, and it's warm and it's seductive, and the composition just is very round and very buttery smooth. It's crazy how this one goes off, and it's one of Francis Kirkjohn's magnus opus masterpieces. I infer that you guys get your nose on this art of sex appeal magnet, Grand Soir by the House of Mason Francis Kirkjohn. You won't go wrong, and I'm sure you guys know that. Sweet, seductive, sexy. It can be casual, it can be soiree, gala, it can do everything in anyone's evening wear, and it's addictive. Once again, Grand Soir, Mason Francis Kirkjohn. Next up, gentlemen, I'm going to hit you guys with this cult classic. This is Lune Feline by the House of Atelier des Ors. Phenomenal fragrance. This one here, the hallmark to this one, vanilla. This one has one of the best vanilla cores you're going to find in perfumery. This is a classic fragrance when it comes to Oriental Ambre Gourmands. Very seductive, just so seductive. They do have a new extract out that's a little bit more animatic than the touch of this one, but this one I prefer. I've smelled that one, it's great, but this one I prefer because what they do have in this one that many people pick up on, and they know how good the vanilla is, but they don't know that this is a Tahitian white vanilla. We go on and wax poetic about what the scent of bourbon vanilla, which is a regional vanilla, not actually something that has an oak smell or a whiskey smell. Bourbon is in Madagascar, so when you see Madagascar and bourbon vanilla, you know that that's a potential regional scent, not just a scent of smoky vanilla. What you get in Lune Feline is Tahitian white vanilla. It's a type of vanilla all on its own, and it's a very expensive extract to distill. And this one here, man, you talk about vanilla, cardamom, black pepper, ambergris, sandalwood. Sweet, strong, gourmand, bitterly soft and sweet, spicy, and some warm animalic facets to it, of course. But once you just put this on your skin, this is a smooth, warm, and decadently sweet fragrance that goes off great on masculine skin because of the spices of black pepper and cardamom. Man, the styrax in this one comes off animalic as well. This is one of the best fragrances when it comes to date night scents for men to wear with that amber sweetness. Very pungent with its musk accord. Cinnamon is in this one as well. A balsamic take for woodiness. It's the Perot Balsam. When I say talk about phenomenally rich fragrances that go off so well on the masculine skin, when you're talking about seductive fragrances, you cannot go wrong with the way that this beautiful scent smells. And look at the concoction that they have. Look at how great the actual flacon looks when you shake it up. They've done so much with this presentation, man. It's phenomenal. Once again, Lunfeline, it's seductive, it's sweet, it's non-gourmandish, it's very balsamic sweetness. It has a lot of animalic touches to it, but nothing over the top. Everything runs in the perfect balance, very harmonious smelling. And like I said, the hallmark for this one is the vanilla with that cardamom. It's very, very high in the vanilla range of fragrances. I'm going to say, at least when I've smelled vanillas that I would put on my skin, not all, because even some are more, they're pretty. This is not pretty. I would not wear a pretty vanilla fragrance. When you talk about warm, seductive, cozy vanilla that sets off a sensual mood, Lunfeline by the house of Atelier des Ors does the trick every single time. Get your nose on it. Sexy Savage approved. Ladies and gentlemen, next up, we doing a deep dive. We going with the house of Stephen Umber Lucas, and you guys are coming up on Stephen Umber Lucas 777 collection, and he's becoming one of those perfumers that's on everybody's radar, but he's been pumping out some classics for quite some time. And in this one, Mortal Skin, he made one of the best resinous, leathery resinous, smoky fragrances that you could put your nose on. Incense, very nicely done with myrrh, ambergris, or Papanex. Now, Papanex is the actual signature of this one, but if you're into incense fragrances that can make you feel comfortable in a sexual or sensual way, you can't go wrong with Mortal Skin. The name is so apropos for this type of scent. Very, very resinous, balsamic, but it has these accords like cardamom and divana, which makes it green, slightly it's slightly herbaceous, but it's more of a rosy tint that the divana and cardamom bring out. Blackberries in this one, and that right there, when you hear the term blackberry and raspberry fragrances, you know that fruity accord can be so sensual in fragrances. And when you talk about a master perfumer blending something, the way he put raspberry across the entire gambit of Olibana, myrrh, Papanex, and ambergris with a little bit of animatic styrax, you cannot say that this is not one of the best cult fragrances on the market right now. It's one that appeals to noses, even though it has this avant-garde take on it. So it's not one that's going to be like, oh, he smells good. You're going to get mass appeal noses that like the way this one smells. It has an ink accord in it as well. Comes off on the blotter, comes off on the skin well. The skin resonates off the body just so well. It goes off, the airy feel that comes off, the sillage that comes off is that a Papanex and myrrh with the blackberry and the ink. But the ink is something so sexy inside of it. I'm going to say this is one of the reasons I do want to get my nose on black lacquer, to see if it comes off as a similar accord, the way that they did that with that avant-garde scent that just dropped. Because this one, if it comes off like Mortal Skin, they have a classic on their hands as well. But Mortal Skin, when it comes to sexy, sensual myrrh, a Papanex, sweet Papanex, this is the nose killer for all. I'll give you a nosegasm. Ladies love this particular scent on the skin, especially in deep, warm environments that come off the cold. So you go outside, then you come back into a warm fire. The way that this just resonates around you, great fragrance for that. Very, very sensual and seductive. Mortal Skin by the house of Stephen Umber Lucas. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, I can't make a list without putting my favorite fragrance on this for the fall time. This wasn't going to be opposite or deleted from this particular list. This is Oud and Amber by the house of Cartier. And man, the warm complexity off of this 2-note signature scent, man, is phenomenal. Oud, what it is about this particular scent that most prominently gives me the essence to call this my signature scent for fall when it comes to seductive wear. It's one that I appreciate so much because of the Oud accord that Cartier is using for this particular blend and brand. I've smelled many Oud accords, and I've smelled some expensive ones, I've smelled some cheap ones, I've smelled all of the, from all houses all the way around. The uniqueness in the way that Cartier has procured, distilled, and extracted their Oud accord is one of my favorites. And I think that with every single accord, the uniqueness of Mathilde Laurent, who is the master perfumer behind this, she does an excellent job of using that oud in every facet, against vanilla, against amber, against sandalwood, against another oud accord. And this one here, this Oud and Amber, is slightly sweet, slightly, the materials that come off on this one. The oud is the oud, and it's seductively sweet. It's animalic, has some leathery facets to it, but the amber is that very, very animalic yet warm, cozy gray amber. It has to be a mixture of ambergris and amber because it has that airiness of amber nuit style of amberous, but it also has the sticky sweetness of things like lune feline and things like grand soir. So it has those two amber styles inside of it because it comes off sweet, warm, and seductive like a benzoin amber, while still being airy and light and ethereal animalic style of gray amber with the actual oud accord that Cartier uses, and it's a phenomenal scent. Just comes off super sexy, super long wearing. The journey it takes you on is phenomenal, and it's seductive. Oud and Amber by the House of Cartier is one to get your nose on. Very phenomenal fragrance in my opinion. Can't wait to get this on my skin so often this particular fall. Yes, as we begin to narrow this list down to the top two, well, not top two, but the last two on the list. This is actually a list I want to put in alphabetical order versus putting it in 1 to 10. That way it'll give you a great reference point to go down the line and just pick out each one you like. To me, Regent Leather is the very best sexy, sensual, sweet, gourmandish style of leather in my collection. This is a fragrance that I waxed poetic about again like a year or so ago, or 2 years when I first got this particular scent. The characteristics is a very woody, balsamic take on leather. It is one that was supposed to be about the Regent diamond at first, so they had these accords in it. They were going off and loving the way the scent was supposed to be structured. This is, like I said, Regent Leather by the House of Thameen. And what they did after reading it and find out what the scent was built on, the actual Rolls-Royce Club of London picked up on the scent and wanted this to be produced to make the scent of the Rolls-Royce. And this is a phenomenal, sexy and seductive leather fragrance that you cannot go wrong with when wearing in the fall season. It's a suede leather along with a premium leather accord, saffron, cedar wood, gurgin balsam, a sweet, seductive vanilla with a sweet, seductive sisters latinum. Very distinguished, just woody, warm, smoked aromatic characteristics that evokes the image of sweet, burning amber tobacco. Like, you know, it's a very elegant and animalic fragrance that has a lot of powerful scent trail. And I think that this here is one of those scents that comes off so sexy. If you're a guy who has the penchant for wearing a lot of black in the fall, this one is for you. It doesn't come off as a totally black fragrance, that real dark deepness. It comes off as a nice warm tonal scent for autumn, but it carries with this animalic touch to it that comes off that leather and the saffron combination with the sisters lavender and gurgin balsam. It's just seductive. It's plain seductive the way this scent comes off. And the thing about this one as well, just as all on this list, the perfume materials are exquisite. This one thing, it comes, the evolution on this one, it comes and just draws everything in so much of a concoction and amalgamation that just comes off so sexy. You will not get enough of having this on your skin for evening wear and being a sexy savage. Just very, date night worthy. Very, sensual and seductive. This is Regent Leather by the House of Thameen. Ladies and gentlemen, the last on this list, one of my new fragrances to my collection that I knew once I picked it up, it was going to be one that was going to pop up on plenty of lists this particular fall. And the reason why, I'm going to be transparent in this. This is one of the nicest spice fragrances that I've ever smelled that gave me a sense of what the wheat / brand / hay accord could do. And I've always been a fan of what that accord can do from scents like single malt, from many other beautiful, I think the other one I really loved was Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme Intenso. I picked up a lot of what is in that particular scent. And this one is great. This is brand hay, vanilla, myrrh, leather, iris, and the nice spicy cardamom is in this one. But I'll be transparent in this one. The reason I think that I fell in love with this when I first got it and have still and can't wait to wear this particular scent, and it's actually going to be my scent of the day. There's a scent by Christopher Sheldrake and the brand Serge Lutens called Sheree. That fragrance is one of Fragcom's all-time favorite fragrances when it comes to smoky, hay-like tobacco and spices and a little aromatic touch of sage in that one. They're very bloomed. That it comes off very well made. It blooms off the skin with that sage, that spicy sage with that hay accord inside of it. To me, if I take a step back and look at where Sheree stands in my tobacco fragrances and my feeling toward what Sheree is, and what many of you guys know what Sheree comes to feel and smell like, this one here takes what that fragrance does and is remixed by Julien Rasconnais to use a very similar hay accord and come off phenomenal. It's not one of the most unique smelling fragrances, but it is captivating by that hay accord. So everything in the base of it, everything in the mid and the base of it, you smell. It's the thyme, it's cardamom, it's a lot of citrus up top that opens up, but nothing that stays there. It goes really, really melting into the skin and gives a supporting to the opening, keeps it fresh, keeps it nice. Nothing dark about this one. It's malted wheat, malted hay, malted tobacco style of scent, but it very much so points to what Sheree did and does to me. Not a dupe, not a take on it. But when you smell the hay, it's that sweet, earthy tobacco, very descriptive scent of like going into it's almost like having a great croissant that you smell, but it's more perfume, if you get what I'm saying. It's not one that actually, you won't be like, oh, I smell like a croissant. But if you put the essence on your skin and you smell it up close, you will get the effectiveness of what the hay does of this one. Like I said, like scents like Sheree with that hay accord, scents like Intensivo or Tenso by Dolce & Gabbana, scents like what would I just say, the hay accord is in single malt. Those fragrances pick up, and this one picks up where those fragrances are in that realm. So the very good uniqueness of it is that malt accord with a nice leathery myrrh and vanilla. To me, when I picked up and put together this list, I was thinking, you know, we all go through what we want to have on a list like this. And I'm like, man, what would I put on my skin right now? And immediately it jumped into my head to put on the scent Spice Diarno by Electimus. And I must say, I'm very, very happy with the choice that I made in picking this one up when I did blind buying it, because it's very, very sweet, seductive, warm, cozy, not too dissimilar from a nice tobacco accorded fragrance that has a lot of myrrh and leather inside of it, with some LME resin as well. Lots of citrus accords in it, but spicy. I enjoy it. It's that sweet, warming take on tobacco accord, but it's slightly malted. A great essence that I'm going to be putting on my skin for the rest of fall and enjoy greatly. Once again, Spice Diarno by the House of Electimus. Get your nose on it. If you are a fan of Sheree, man, it's crazy how it unveils itself, and you have these in your collection. You're like, man, it comes off like the Sheree without that high-pitched sage accord. It dials that back, but very much so in that same vein. Sexy, tobacco-ish hay. Affirmative in that sexiness too. Great fragrance. Spice Diarno, Electimus. Ladies, gentlemen, this is my list for you guys today. This is a scent that I want to put together, or a profile that I want to put together. Sexy Savage, the art of sex appeal. This is the autumn edit. This is, you know, we all go into these different seasons, want to know how we can smell sexy and attractive to the opposite sex, and these are fragrances that really do it. These are fragrances that are identifiers and hallmarks that have certain essences and certain ways of appeal for different people. But to me, these are all in my collection as sexy, appealing fragrances. None of these are really day wear, for me at least, but these are all occasion wear when I'm going out on dates, going out on evening out, being chill and relaxed at home in the evening. Most times when I come home and take my evening shower, these are all fragrances that I pull for in that particular scent profile. I wouldn't wear these particularly to a work environment or anything like that, but when you go out into a situation where you want to feel attractive, want to feel flirtatious and alluring, these are the compliment magnets for you to create that sex appeal and that art of attraction. So if you want to be a sexy savage this year, check out these 10 fragrances. I'll leave descriptions and link below, and then go for it, man, because these are fragrances that really, really are calling card, a hallmark to seduction. Until next time, until next video, you guys have a blessed day. Always remember, like, comment, subscribe.